Who's ready for blood and hand grenades? We've got plenty of both in the screening room this week. Let's dive in.
Are either one of these any good?
Wow, this is a good movie.
It's pretty good.
Well, the director from yesterday doesn't think so.
It stinks.
He's sorry. You waste our film.
It's so bad.
Welcome into the Screening Room Podcast. She is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
We are from MaddWolf.com. Got a few to check out this week, both on the big screen and for home streaming. Yeah, who'd have thought that hand grenades are one of the themes, one of the prevailing themes this week, but we see them in two of the big films. So let's start out.
First up in theaters, an assassin trained in the traditions of the Roma organization sets out to seek revenge after her father's death. From the world of John Wick, Ballerina.
I think we've said a few times, the John Wick franchise is one of the few, maybe the only, that I can think of that got better each installment.
Yeah.
Leading to part 4 last time, which was
magnificent.
Just so great.
Yeah. Yeah. And this this one, Ballerina from the world of John Wick, it's not nearly as good as John Wick 4. But it's better than I expected it to be. It's fun. Ana de Armas plays, she's orphaned when she's young. She's taken in by Angelica Houston's organization, the Roma, and raised to be an assassin. John Wick, Keanu Reeves, does make a couple of appearances throughout her life as she first of all trains. And
not as much. I've had a couple of people say that the trailer makes it seem like this is a co-starring kind of a thing, and it's not. No, it's not. But he comes in at opportune moments, and it is fun. I mean, their scenes together are fun. She leaves. She goes rogue when she realizes that she can track down the men who killed her father, and that leads to a fun episode. One of the things I've always loved about these movies is that it creates this weird world within a world where like every third person is an assassin, and we just don't know it. And so I think it extends that to this sort of snow globe little town. I liked that. I enjoyed that. The action is fun. One of the things I liked about it, regardless of the fact that this is called Ballerina, is that the action is not the kind of elegant ballet that we've seen in the John Wick movies, especially in 4. It's contained. It's mainly like short distances, and again, it's a lot of hand grenades. She really likes hand grenades. She, and I like that she has a different style of action. This film has a different style of action, although a ton of action and a ton of bloodshed. So I don't think that it's one of the best of the franchise. It is considerably better than I thought it was going to be, and I thought it was a lot of fun. Yeah, and it has a little bit of the Continental, which I've loved since the beginning. Now I have to admit that I really didn't like the first John Wick that much, because I remember I reviewed them both, and they came out. It came out almost the same time as the original Equalizer.
Yeah,
and I reviewed them both, and I thought the original Equalizer was better than the first John Wick.
With the exception of, you really like the Continental. You thought
the Continental.
The whole idea was very cool.
Love the Continental, but that's just episode 1. I fully, like I've said before, they got better each time, and I love part 4.
Yeah,
loved part 4. But love seeing a bit of the Continental in here, and of course Keanu Reeves. The hand grenades, which I think sort of makes sense, because Ana de Armas is a little person.
Yeah, and in her training, they talk about that. They talk about how you're not going to win if you always lean into the rules that the opponent has set up for you. You've got to find your own way. I think, though, the title Ballerina is perplexing, because there's really no ballet involved in this.
Well, it lets them use Tiny Dancer in the trailer, which doesn't make its way into the movie, but it looks good. It sounds good in the trailer. So. That's a little bit odd, but it continues this mythology, and let's be honest, if they're looking for a way to continue, and they clearly are, yes. I would think they have their mind, their eyes on a continuation of this franchise with Ana de Armas. That could work. And I said, remember she was in the Bond movie for just, I don't know, seconds. 10 minutes. Yeah. and made a great impression. So we said at that time, she could have a future as an action star here. And that's obviously what they're trying to do here. So it's an interesting, they've made this world very interesting.
Yeah.
You're right. It's weird. Everybody you meet is an assassin. Of course, you just assume it, especially in the snow globe town. Yeah. And the way the mythology of the characters and the world has become increasingly interesting. And also in this one, it's nice, once again, Lance Reddick.
Yeah.
Probably his final appearance, I would think.
Yeah, it was really lovely to see him. And of course, Ian McShane.
Oh, yes.
But it was nice the way they introduced some of the canon characters into this. And it was great to see Lance Reddick.
Yeah, but remember, the entire thing, this whole thing started years ago because of the dog.
Right.
Which is a lot more interesting than You Killed My Father.
That's true. The core story is pretty run of the mill. You killed my father, prepare to die. We've seen that a few times.
Yeah.
But the action that they pack around it, and the mythology of the series is what's interesting. Yeah,
and even for just these minutes, you do get Keanu Reeves, you do get John Wick back in it. Yeah. So will we see more? How are they going to get out of this? Does it rewrite what happened? Don't know. I guess they leave that up for you to decide, and maybe they'll answer that in future installments. But for now, you get Ballerina, and it's not up there with the best of them, but it's a perfectly serviceable action movie with a new action hero.
Yep.
Next in theaters, the latest from Wes Anderson. Wealthy businessman Zsa Korda appoints his only daughter, Anan, as sole heir to his estate. As Korda embarks on a new enterprise, they soon become the target of scheming tycoons, foreign terrorists, and determined assassins in the Phoenician Scheme.
That sounds like a lot, but of course it's a Wes Anderson movie, and that means there's a lot even more going on than just that. Jeez Louise, he packs a wallop and packs a lot into his scripts. And maybe we were thinking about this last night. Is there any filmmaker that is more instantly recognizable from even one frame? You see one.
Not anymore.
That's Wes Anderson.
Yeah, I think David Lynch and Stanley Kubrick, I think that they were up there, but I don't think even they are as immediately recognizable as Wes Anderson.
Yeah, you've got the picture postcard framing, the left to right pans, the coolly detached characters, the precise dialogue, the craftsmanship of the sets, the symmetry, the colors. It's all right there, and it's all
the cast list.
Yeah, all these big names in relatively small parts. Yeah. You have all of that and more in the Phoenician Scheme. Yeah. But a big part is Benicio del Toro hasn't had a part like this, and I don't know when. I mean, and he makes full use of it. He is Zsa Korda, and he is great name. There's so many great names in Wes Anderson movies, and he is a tycoon. You could even say a robber baron. And he is trying to finance his latest scheme, the Phoenician Scheme, and going around and visiting all these relations and acquaintances and world leaders across the globe to try to secure financing for this scheme. And that's the Reader's Digest version. There's more going on. And he finds that harder to do, especially because he keeps being the victim of assassination attempts, many of them. So he figures maybe he should have someone looking over his assets in case one of these is successful. So he turns to his only daughter. He's got 10 kids, one daughter, and she is played by Mia Thrappleton, who I wasn't really familiar with before this. But she's great as well and fits right into the cast. And she's studying to be a nun. Doesn't really want any part of this, but she comes along on a provisional basis. Got to prove herself to see if she can be trusted with all of her father's millions. As they go around and they take with them this guy who ends up being sort of an executive assistant or secretary to Korda, played by Michael Cera. Now, Michael Cera almost puts this movie in his back pocket and walks away with it, because if there's any, think of Michael Cera's acting style. It's perfect for a Wes Anderson movie.
He's custom made for this.
He is. And he's great in this part. It's such a weird character. He starts out with this weird accent, and he says he's from Norway. And then you find out, no, there's some history with this guy and what's really going on. And then when he changes personas, he's a hoot. He's one of the highlights of this movie. And so many big stars crop up. Yes, Bill Murray is back in a very small role. Tom Hanks, Bryan Cranston are together. Scarlett Johansson, a lot of these familiar faces that you've seen from these ensembles with Wes Anderson. And it's one of those movies that, some of the scenes and the sets go by so quickly, and you're trying to take them all in. You want to slow it down a little bit. And that's why I guess it fell a little short with me on the scale of Wes Anderson films that I always want to see. Believe me, always want to see everything he does. But this is more that a movie that you sort of appreciate for the craftsmanship, but then the connective tissue that holds it all together isn't quite as strong as some of his best. For me, that's Moonrise Kingdom. That's Atomic City. Is that the one? Just from a couple. I'm sorry, Asteroid City from a couple of years ago. Really liked that one.
Bottle Rocket's the best.
Bottle Rockets. But then the ones that I think for us, when we've talked about them, that fall short are the ones like French Dispatch, where are a series of almost vignettes that aren't held together as, and I think as well as some of his others. And I think this falls in that category for me. There's so much to appreciate. I mean, the dialogue, the art, they use some art, and they have to give all the credit to all these fantastic artworks at the very end. It looks fantastic. His movies always do. They're so inventive. They're so original. I mean, we've already talked about the character names and this crazy crisscrossing plot and all these things going on. And I even forgot to bring up the hand grenades.
That's right.
Because this is movie number 2 about hand grenades, because Zsa Corda likes to, when he greets people, to say, "Help yourself to a hand grenade." And then they usually answer, "You're very kind." And that just continues. He likes to give out hand grenades. So that was just, I had to laugh because we'd already talked about and seen, Ballerina. We're talking about hand grenades this week. But Wes Anderson, you know what you're getting with a Wes Anderson movie. It's just, for us, it's how well the whole hangs together through the sum of its parts. And I just don't think this one does up there with his best. There were a couple, 2 or 3 laugh out loud moments. Yeah. But like the rest of his stuff, a lot of it is just amusing and very dryly funny. And you just appreciate the wordplay and the acting and the craftsmanship of it all. So Wes Anderson fans, I would say definitely. Casual fans, maybe not. Maybe this is not the one that you're going to remember in his resume. And that is The Phoenician Scheme from Wes Anderson, and it's in theaters now.
Next in theaters, when Zephyr, a savvy and free-spirited surfer, is abducted by a shark-obsessed serial killer and held captive on his boat, she must figure out how to escape before he carries out a ritualistic feeding to the sharks below. It's Dangerous Animals.
Shark movies.
Actually, I was most excited about this because it's Sean Byrne, who is a filmmaker. His first feature film, The Loved Ones, is one of my all-time favorite movies. And we were excited to see him. He hasn't made a movie in quite a while.
10 years.
10 years. And we were very excited to see him with what looked like an interesting take on the shark movie.
Yeah. And it is a shark movie, but sometimes it's not a shark movie. And I think really it's better for it because it enables it to rise above the sharksploitation movies that have gotten just so incredibly silly. Not that this doesn't have its preposterous moments. It certainly does. But this is one, a lot of people anymore, they say trailers give away too much. Mm-hmm. And this one does, but also you watch this trailer and you can probably guess how it's going to end.
Yeah.
But okay, how are you going to get there? And it starts with a really hammered up performance from Jai Courtney.
He's great.
He's better than I think I've ever seen him. Yeah. He's really leaning into this as Tucker in Australia, and he runs a boat. He takes tourists out for shark encounters in the cage. You get down there and swim with the sharks real close, but he's always on the lookout for maybe some tourists that are by themselves and maybe not easily tracked, or maybe not instantly missed. Maybe nobody's looking. And when he finds that prey, he pounces and he puts them on the harness. Again, this is all in the trailer, and he records them on VHS tape, because in Australia you get free blank tapes with a Vegemite purchase. But that's how he puts on the show.
He's old school.
He's old school. That's right. So he's been doing this. The film lets us know he's been doing this with the amount of tapes he's got for quite a while. Yeah. How's he gotten away with it all this time? Don't worry about it.
It's Australia.
It's Australia.
There's a lot of
everything's trying to kill you.
That's right.
And then you get this American surfer named Zephyr, played by Hassie
Harrison.
And she gets abducted. She comes to ride the waves very, very early in the morning. So nobody's at the beach yet, except, of course, Tucker. And he comes by and nabs her. And she's going to be the next victim. But he quickly finds out that she's a fighter. She's a Marlin. And Tucker likes a fight. So now the movie moves into the serial killer, the fight for survival mode. And it's got one clear homage to Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It does,
clear.
yes.
But for me, it also also had quite a few nods to a movie that we love called Hounds of Love.
Yes. Yeah. Reminded me of an Australian film as well. Reminded me a lot of that one.
Abduction type thriller. So that's in the middle, and that works too. But for us, we think what brings the movie down is this side plot love story that is wedged in. And I guess I understand why it is, because Zephyr meets this local dude, Moses, and they have this fling, and are they going to continue it? I don't know. And then she goes her way to go surfing, and then she disappears. So I get it. The story, you have to have someone miss her to come after her. I get that. But the way this is woven into the story,
it's really contrived.
It's
really
very
is.
contrived.
And not in any way believable. And it just, it weighs the film down. It really does.
It does. I think the interplay between the two of them, Zephyr and Tucker, works. I mean, Hamilton handles the physicality of it pretty well. And of course, Courtney just leans into that physicality. I mean, he's not, the shark isn't the only one chewing up the scenery in this movie. Let me tell you that. But he's a kick to watch.
Yeah, he is.
As it goes toward this finale that, yes, you can probably already guess from the trailer, but it's fun. It's fun. Not great.
No.
It's certainly not great. And you have to go with the times when, like you mentioned, dragged down by the contrivance of this little bit of a love story. But it is fun.
It's fun.
And it's better than the glut of sharksploitation movies that we've had that have just, leaned into, I mean, they made a documentary about it, Sharksploitation, which is a fun documentary, by the way. Look it up. That's just has continued to lean into the silliness of Sharktopus or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. This doesn't do that.
No.
It still has its moments where, like really all horror movies do, they make some stupid choices. I mean, people make some dumb choices, and you're yelling, you're yelling at the movie, just do this, which can be fun, I guess. But yeah, in the end, it's fun. It's certainly not great. It's no Jaws as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the movie that kicked this whole thing off. But it's fun. It's a fun watch, and it's Dangerous Animals, a new wrinkle on the shark movie, throwing in some serial killer and abduction thriller vibes in there too. On the big screen, in the theaters now.
Next on Hulu, 3 of the fiercest warriors in human history become prey to the ultimate killer of killers. It's Predator, Killer of Killers.
Yeah, going animated.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't have super high expectations for this one, and I'm not sure why. Dan Trachtenberg directed it. He directed Prey, which we loved, especially
and the next
Comanche
one.
Cut.
Oh, yes, the Comanche Cut. Yeah,
and this one has 3. It's sort of an anthology. It's 3 short animated segments about different warriors across time on Earth. You've got a Viking, then you've got a samurai, and then you've got a World War II pilot. And then a 4th segment that kind of wraps everything up. And right from the get-go, the Viking cartoon, I loved.
Strongest out of the gate.
Oh, yeah. It's fun. It's so bloody.
Yeah.
My Lord, this is not a cartoon for kids.
No.
But some of that, the overall animation, I didn't think I loved. But there were certain sequences that were really impressive. And especially, I think, in this one, certain kills that were like, whoa.
Oh, yeah. And also, a big shout out to the score.
Yeah.
And to the sound design.
Yeah.
Always so important in an animated film. Just really add a lot to this. But I agree. The first segment, strong out of the gate, and you meet these, in each one, you meet these different types of warriors throughout history. And then, of course, what does the Predator want to do? Fight the best warriors to become the killer of killers across time and across planets. And that's what's going on here as we bide a few months until the next live action installment, which Trachtenberg is also doing, called Badlands. It's supposed to be out in November.
With Elle Fanning.
And he's got a good scorecard now, because Prey, especially, again, like you said, the Comanche Cut, so good. Such an ingenious move. Where are you going to go with the Predator franchise? Well, let's go back in time. And just drop the Predators in, because if that's what they've been doing now for centuries, well, let's just watch it. So that's a genius move. And now you get to see them throughout these different times in history, fighting what they see from watching from afar. Well, you must be the warrior that might give me a fight. I'm going to take you on, and then you on, and then you on. And then you find out what happens at the end that ties them all together, which we didn't think that was the weak link of the movie.
It was. I think it was a little heavy-handed. It felt more borrowed. The others did not feel borrowed to me, and it also felt a little more cynical than the others.
Yeah.
Were.
Yeah, agreed with that. It wasn't as engaging. I understand in an anthology, you want to tie it up.
Sure.
A lot of times you have a prologue and an epilogue.
Right.
This time you just really have the epilogue
Mm-hmm.
that does bring all the three segments together. But yeah, I just thought it felt a little flat, maybe even a little flippant.
Yeah,
I think for me, but it didn't ruin the movie.
No,
at
not
all.
at all, no.
Definitely appreciate it. And I think
especially it's just a streamer. It's on Hulu.
Yes.
Yeah, Hulu, watch it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's got a real good feeling for this franchise. Really reinvigorated it with Prey, and then with this is a nice, bide your time with a streamer on the way to Badlands in November. So yeah, check it out, especially if you have Hulu. Why not?
That's right.
Just put the kids to bed because it's an animated movie. No.
No.
And that's Predator, Killer of Killers is on Hulu.
And one more in theaters, a genre-bending comedy about a frustrated and misanthropic newlywed who discovers certain feral impulses that land her in unlikely situations. It's Sister Midnight.
This is another one that took an unexpected turn, especially for now. Rachel Willis reviewed this for us. You can check out her written review at MaddWolf.com. But she loved it. She gave it 4 stars.
Yeah, she did. And I think it's because, one of the many reasons is because you never exactly know where it's going, but at the same time, it feels very relatable. And it's actually about an arranged marriage. But most of it is simply about these two people who can't seem to figure out what makes the other one tick. They don't actually know each other. So it's a fascinating idea. And then in the long term, it's sort of it's a meditation on an unhappy marriage. But the turns that it takes are funny, are moving, are interesting, are unexpected, and at a certain point are downright supernatural.
Yeah. And it's classified as a dark comedy. Yeah. So now that means for some people, they won't maybe find it funny if it gets too dark. Other people, maybe us included, that's right in your sweet spot. So dark comedy, but then goes in a direction that we're not going to spoil.
No.
But it's certainly very interesting and one that you probably don't expect. So definitely check out Rachel's written review, and that's on MaddWolf.com. But Sister Midnight is in select theaters, hopefully in your area now.
Yeah, big recommendation this week.
Yeah, you bet.
Let's go to streaming next. An elite squad of 6 black soldiers led by ex-slave Barabbas have been sent on a suicide mission to infiltrate a Confederate fort deep in the Arkansas woods and blow up its long-range guns, altering the course of the war. It's Resurrection Road.
Here's another mashup of genres, which is ambitious and a lot of times can give you whiplash depending on how well it's pulled off. And Daniel Baldwin, Schlocketeer,
that's right,
reviewed this for us this week. And unfortunately, with this one, he said they cannot pull off those genre mashups.
No, yeah, it's a Civil War era film, as the synopsis said, but it's actually also a horror movie, a supernatural horror movie. And he brought up in his written review, which I love, the movie Dead Birds, which does the same thing. It's a Civil War era horror film, supernatural, and it's a fun one, and it's got a great cast. This one, it benefits amazingly from the performance of Malcolm Goodwin, who plays the lead, and he's given it his all, and he's doing a great job, and nothing else in the entire movie really works.
He's the lead. He plays the leader of a squadron that's been given pretty much a suicide mission to go in and take over this fort.
Yeah.
And they've got to do it, even though especially Malcolm's character knows that they're probably not coming back.
Right. It's just, it can't pull off the tone. It can't, it just doesn't have, just any of, there's no good reason to recommend the movie is what we're saying.
Yeah, that's unfortunate because you always wonder with some of these genre mashups, if it was an editing, if there's more here that they had to cut out for time or whatever, that might have made the transitions a little more smoother. But Daniel, it's one of those situations where he really liked that performance. Yeah, really wanted to like it more than
it's an interesting idea.
It is. It is.
They couldn't pull it off.
But in a movie, I think one of the films in his review that he cited, movies like Cowboys and Aliens, where you try to bring those two things in, and you're like, what? It might have been an ambitious, as we've said many times, we love those ambitious swings.
Yeah, big swing.
But this one just doesn't pull it off very well, unfortunately. And you can check out Daniel's full review at MaddWolf.com. But this was streaming, and it's called Resurrection Road.
And one more streaming this week. A poor young man is wrongly charged with drug trafficking after being deceived. An ex-prosecutor investigates the case, uncovers a corrupt lawyer team scheme, and restores justice despite obstruction from evil forces. Donnie Yen directs The Prosecutor.
Yeah, Donnie Yen, not only, of course, a legendary presence as an actor, but he's also directed his fair share of films.
Yep.
And this one is the latest. This was reviewed by Brandon Thomas. And he was excited about it because he's a fan of Donnie Yen, as he rightly points out that, Tom Cruise is not the only action star of a certain age that is still getting it done. And Donnie Yen is no spring chicken either.
No, and he does direct, and it's a courtroom drama. The courtroom drama part does not live up to the action martial arts sort of story that's being told. But if you love the action, I mean, it's what you would expect it to be. It's amazingly choreographed. It's incredibly well executed. Donnie Yen just looks great doing it. There are a lot of jokes throughout the movie about how he's getting older and he's kind of losing his edge, but there is no proof of it in the film itself. So especially if you're a fan of Donnie Yen, of martial arts films, I think that and it's a streamer, I think that this is a big recommendation.
Yeah, I think for Brandon, the one nitpick that he had was that he would have liked even more action than was in the movie because it was so effective. But Donnie Yen fans and maybe some new fans, check it out. It's called The Prosecutor, and it's now on Prime Video.
That's right. So speaking of Slocketeer, he can't join us today.
Taking the week out. Well, we tired him out. He reviewed that movie, and he couldn't do it.
Maybe he's mad at us. It wasn't very good.
We will check in with Daniel next week. So speaking of next week, we're looking at the revival, the live action, first of the live action series of How to Train Your Dragon. We saw this the other night, and we were impressed. So we'll talk about that.
And then also The Life of Chuck.
The Life of Chuck. I'll have plenty to say about that next week. Got to see that the other night as well. Also, Materialists.
Yeah, the new one from Celine's song.
Yeah, who did Past Lives.
Right. Also, Echo Valley. I know you're excited to see that one.
Oh, that's Sydney Sweeney and
just Julianne
Moore.
Oscar contender perennially. Just Julianne Moore.
Also one called Prime Minister.
The Matriarch, which we have seen already and are excited to talk about.
And Best Wishes to All. This is another one that we watched the other night. This was an interesting movie, to say the least. So we'll talk about those. And who knows what else might pop up. And hopefully the Schlocketeer will be back with us for the latest studio news and notes. But until then, what do you like about this week? What do you like about hand grenades and bloody cartoons and lots of blood spillage on the big screen and also for streaming? Let us know. You can always get in touch easily. You can find us MaddWolf Columbus on all the socials. Of course, MaddWolf.com is the main website, and we love to when you chime in with your thoughts. We'll love to keep that conversation going. In the meantime, be well. We'll talk about more new movies next week, and until then, she is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf,
and this is the Screening Room Podcast.
I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner.